Hey, it's Gabe with API Nation. We're excited to bring you this awesome webinar. For more great content like this webinar that can help you in your real estate business, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a video. Enjoy.
Let's do it. You guys ready to get started?
Yes.
Reduce some stress? Cool.
Hey,
my name is Gabe. I'm with API Nation. We have put together this webinar to help out our friends in real estate, our real estate pro friends, reduce some stress in their lives and reduce some stress for their sellers, because things are stressful enough in the world right now, and the last thing we need is stress coming from work that we can easily take care of. So I have a couple people with me, Connie and Jack. Connie is from Arizona, and she's an experienced realtor, and we'll introduce her fully in just a minute. And Jack is the founder of HomeBinder, which is a tool that is definitely going to help you reduce some of the stress that you're experiencing with your sellers and that transaction. So like I said, I'm with API Nation. We're presenting this webinar to help out these real estate friends, these real estate pros. And what we do at API Nation is that all these apps and a ton more, these are our most popular apps. These are the most popular apps with realtors that we work with. We connect them together. So maybe you every day have to log into, 9, 10, studies actually say closer to like 30 different platforms for an agent. So instead of logging into all those platforms, updating a contact here, creating an invoice there, you can connect them on API Nation so that when you update a contact in Boomtown, in KV Core, it automatically gets updated in .loop, BrokerMint, MailChimp, anything like that. So it just really takes a lot of the workload off of you so that that stress kind of can go away. And we're going to show you a little bit more about how that works with HomeBinder actually in just a minute. And first, let's meet Connie. So Connie, they call you the AZ Hat Lady. And what's the story with the hats?
Well, I'm a native Arizona girl. I grew up here in Phoenix, and I wanted to see, when I went to college, I wanted to see something different. So I went to Oregon. I wanted to see rain and snow. But the thing they never taught us was how to use an umbrella in the rain. So I was umbrella challenged, and I got my grandfather's old Stetson, punched out the hat, and then I've been wearing hats ever since. And it really does help with the stress when you have to run out of the house real quick and no time to do your hair. I put a hat on. I'm there.
No, that's awesome.
I also use it for the sun, of course.
Yeah, the sun is huge. Actually, now that we're in like quarantine, I really wish I was a hat person, because this is it's just getting worse and worse, and I'm not brave enough to cut it myself. So
COVID hairdos are a real thing, Gabe.
I know. There's a YouTube video I'm sure I'll watch. Yeah, if anybody watching this right now has a YouTube video that has helped them out with a self haircut, send it my way, because I'm gonna have to tackle that very soon. So you're experienced. You've been doing this for 38 years.
Long time. So I started in May of '83. So this is the beginning of my 38th year in real estate.
Wow.
And I know when I started, I didn't know what was going on. So I decided to focus on education, one aspect, so that gave me confidence in what I was doing. And I have a lot of designations, but one I'm most proud of and the hardest one to get was the Certified Residential Specialist, the CRS. There's only 3% of us in the country now.
Wow.
And education really helps to figure where you're going to get balance in your life, from personal and business.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. 3%. I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Residential expert, and you're also a foodie. So that is sort of how you unwind.
I kind of wish I didn't love food so much, but I do love it.
Yeah.
And I have my own organic garden, about 900 square feet, and just great. But it's a little weird in Arizona. Like, we grow in the winter and not in the summertime. I do. Summer. And we have a lot of restaurants here. I live in a tourist destination area. We got great restaurants, and it's fun. So I kind of like checking it out. I just found a new New York pizza place, so I'm pretty excited about that. And, it's the time now where we're trying to support all of our local restaurants.
Yeah, no, that's great. New York pizza is really hard to find. Nobody can really define the winning aspect. I've heard it's the water, it's the dough, it's the air, it's the disrespect they treat you with when you come to order. It's any of those things.
Oh, but that's part of the attitude.
Yeah.
But the food part also really helps with stress. It's like if you eat the right foods, you're nourishing your body, and it just gives you the strength to work 7 days a week.
Oh, it's the fuel. Yeah, if you're throwing garbage in there, garbage is coming out. It's rough. Yeah, it's rough. And then we also have Jack from HomeBinder. Jack, you founded HomeBinder just a few years ago, and it's just really, it sounds like it's really going great. You're an intrapreneur and an entrepreneur, it sounds like. And a homeowner.
And a homeowner. Yeah. My first business was more of an entrepreneurship, spinning out of a bigger company. But HomeBinder, I would say, is really the one that for me I'm very just passionate about. I think the first one I was doing, I saw it as an opportunity, but I not to share too much about me, but I lost my dad at a fairly young age, and so with the idea of 12 years old and having to kind of help mom out. I grew up in a house that was built in 1735. Yeah. So you want to talk about nutty, crazy, weird wiring and plumbing and old stuff. Everything was breaking all the time. And I by no means consider myself an expert. I just ground through it. Today, my greatest joy is to some degree hiring other people to do that work. Yeah. But you have to know how to do it. And when you think about HomeBinder, and the job of trying to make homeownership a little bit easier by organizing home information and the plight of home ownership, as I sometimes talk about it. Yeah. That's a big part of what I want the product to deliver homeowners and buyers and sellers. And we can talk more about it over. I see you're already giving away my secrets about my trebuchets and potato guns, but those are two passions of mine.
That's how you unwind. That's how you reduce the stress and worry in your life, huh? Trebuchets and potato guns.
I've got two boys under the age of 10 that we're homeschooling right now. So anything I can do to just decompress and mess around in the garage and tinker with stuff is welcome.
Go ahead.
What's a trebuchet? What is that?
So it's a French medieval device that was used to knock down castle walls. The interesting thing about it is it's entirely mechanical. It's not elastic driven. There's not any, spring-loaded catapult nature to it. What's remarkable at the trebuchet is that it's extraordinarily precise. If you put the same weight object into a trebuchet and you fire it twice without moving or changing anything about it, it will literally land in the same hole 100 feet away. And so it allowed them to be, they'd fire one, they'd be, not quite right, make some adjustments, and then really just start to pound castles, getting a lot of simple machine stuff going on, pendulums and fulcrums and levers, just basic, simple machines, but they could throw 200-pound rocks hundreds of feet and became very destructive. But I make little ones. I only throw like baseballs and handheld things.
Nice. Yeah. You just take the boys out and you're like, hey, this is physics. We're going to go learn it. And that's how we're going about homeschooling.
Make it real.
Cool. Yeah. Karen also wanted to know what trebuchets are, I believe. Karen, if that's unclear, let us know. And we'll Google a picture and we'll discuss some more. It's really interesting. It's great. Yeah. Cool. So just a quick poll. We are talking about reducing stress. You guys are all real estate pros. And a lot of people who are in real estate know that it's a high stress environment. There's a lot going on. And like Connie often says, you're wearing a lot of hats. So you're doing a lot. So just a quick poll in the chat. Raise your hand if you are a fan of high stress situations. Just to see what's going on. We have a single hand. Okay. Great. So that's kind of what I figured, and that's kind of what we expected. There's that single person who definitely should be, should take this and see, yeah, this is all the things I could do to reduce a little bit of stress for my seller. But in general, we are going to try and reduce stress for you and your seller. Gary is the one. And he says he's a veteran and it's how they do their best. That actually makes a lot of sense. For Gary, probably real estate is quite a bit less stressful than things he's experienced so far. So yeah, Gary's used to it. So that's great. And let's talk about what we are going to talk about. So the plan today is to walk you through, let's define stress and what are the most stressful moments in this real estate transaction. Let's talk about making changes, how changes are hard to make. It's going to take some effort, even though we're going to give you, what Connie and Jack are going to give you are easy changes, things that you can just make adjustment in your daily processes. They're small adjustments, but changes are hard and you are used to doing things your way. So is it going to be worth it to make these changes? Let's talk about that. And then the effect you can expect to see on your sellers. And then we're going to give you those changes. Connie and Jack are going to walk us through some of those changes. And then some of those changes involve HomeBinder, which is a great tool, and API Nation, which is another tool that can help you reduce stress in your everyday real estate life. So that is what we are going through. And let's talk about, where is the stress? So you guys are real estate agents, and Connie, I don't know about you, but do people, when you tell people you're a real estate agent, do they say, oh, that must be very stressful? Or do they, what is their feeling when you tell them that?
Well, they think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I get to go look at homes every day, and it's just very fun. It's sort of like real life HGTV.
That's HGTV is really made your job look like it can happen in about 30 minutes with very little surprise. Yeah.
But I can't watch it because I start yelling at the realtors on there.
Yeah, that person always buys the house on HGTV. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, there is just so much stress, and I think it took me maybe almost 20 years to learn that motto up there. It is what it is. I can't create something. I can't make a home that isn't in existence yet. I can't put a brand new home in an old subdivision because that's where the big trees are. There's just certain things you just can't do, and you have to be able to know when to give that up. And also to hire somebody. I was just flashing on one of my most stressful times was having to an evicted tenant. And I used to do all that because I come from a legal background. And it was so relieving to me, just hire the attorney, let him handle the process. And it was great. It really, learning how to use people in my network eliminates some stress.
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, it's you as a real estate agent. I think it's common, definitely, for all these people who are here to tell people they're a real estate agent and for them to have kind of a rosy view. It sounds fun. You got to go to a lot of open houses and check out all the cool stuff. And so they probably don't know about kind of this situation, which is a typical transaction that you walk people through will look like this, which I feel stressed looking at it just as a flow chart. And that is probably the most organized and simple way somebody could draw it up. There's so many moving parts. There's so many people involved, and there is a lot going on. So that's a typical transaction.
And that's only the second part of the transaction. The first part is prepping your home and putting it on the market. Then you go into this, and there's a lot that goes into this escrow process.
Yeah. And this is only you're right. This is only the hard events. Like, I'm sure there's all types of little idiosyncrasies and stuff from clients that are not on a flow chart for sure.
Those are the surprises.
Yeah. And then some of the big stressors, they've done studies and asked real estate agents, what are your big stresses from those transactions? The first one is all the nuances of contracts. So especially when you're first getting started, knowing all those nuances and the subtleties and all the little tips that all the savvy veterans already know, it can be a little stressful to try and keep up with that. There's this idea of all the paperwork, which has now gone digital, but it doesn't eliminate all the, getting things signed, getting things looked at, getting things from many different parties all together to get this transaction through. And of course, this one right here, the people. There is so many people involved in a real estate transaction. You guys all know, you probably have a whole team that you work with, and hopefully a whole network that you're used to working with. But all of those people introduce little bits of chaos and little bits of pieces of life that can make this already complicated situation even more complicated. Is there any other? Actually, this is something Connie brought up. Look into the future. These are some of the new stressors. So what are some of the ones that you see coming up here as we move forward?
Well, I think we're going to, like really working on technology. And I believe, virtual open houses and live streaming is where we're going to go in the industry. But I think it's fun if you have to learn it, got to be a part of it. When I started, they didn't even have computers. They were using those big fat books with the listings. And that was stressful for the old people way back when to use a computer. And now I'm actually looking forward to doing online live streaming, mainly because it'll be 110 degrees outside and we'll be able to go look at homes, it's going to be so much better. But I have a lot of the same stressors, just learning to do this and integrating it is quite complex.
Yeah. Actually, Karen had mentioned in the chat that technology and integrating it is one of her biggest stressors. So there's the new thing of Zoom. So you guys are all doing, maybe not all of you, but a lot of you are doing now virtual listing presentations and virtual walkthroughs on your houses, which is quite a bit to learn all of a sudden. Like I'm sure it was on the horizon. Soon we're going to be doing this, and now it's tomorrow. You're doing it. You need to do it. You have no choice. The social media is changing. I have Instagram up there, but even Instagram is now kind of losing its luster, and people are looking for the next thing. There's this guy with a virtual headset. That is the virtual walkthrough. And then one of the other things you mentioned that I wasn't aware of is the MLS consolidation, so that more people are working in bigger areas, but they might not be familiar with. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's something in the future too. It's changing. Yeah. But this is, the industry has changed a lot, as a lot of society has, but just finding ways to make it's not easier, but to reduce some of the stress is really getting your network together and getting the right products. And once I find it, it eliminates it, and I can focus on my clients, because that's what's most important, is meeting the needs of the buyers and sellers.
Yeah. Speaking of meeting the needs of the buyers and sellers, Gary actually mentioned that virtual showings, while they may be stressful, he's been working with military buyers around the globe. He's a veteran, so that makes a lot of sense. And virtual showings are basically, that's what they need. So while it may be stressful for agents, I'm sure it relieves a lot of stress for those families and for particular types of, clients that you guys are learning this and moving in that direction. That's great.
It's exciting.
Yeah. The number one stressor I read was surprises, which is pretty broad, but the idea being you guys have that idea of what a transaction is going to look like, and then you get that call that everybody dreads. It's like, the appraisal came in low, or the inspection came back weird, or the funding didn't go through. So there's a ton of different little surprises and a ton of opportunities for surprises. And so one of the ways we'll talk about later is just some ways to maybe limit the chance for surprise using some strategies and using things like HomeBinder. So worth making the change. Like I said, changes are hard. I'm not one to make a lot of changes in my daily life unless I absolutely have to. I love my routine, so I'm sure you guys do too, but it's going to be worth it. The reduced stress is going to be huge. So one of the things professionally, burnout is real. Connie, I don't know if you have ever experienced a form of burnout as an agent over 38 years, or where you just needed a vacation, or?
Well, I try to do it every day. because when you work full time, and when I was laughing because when you say a schedule and we don't like change, the only thing that's consistent in my life is it changes every day. It's like every 15 minutes, something is different. If a seller needs help or their water knob doesn't work, I got to go help, or if a buyer wants to show property. So the key thing is being able to spend some time that re-energizes myself.
Yeah.
Whatever that could be. To me, a lot of it is gardening, just getting my fingers in the dirt. Exercising is really important. And, hanging out with friends, which we don't get to do right now.
No, we get to do it on Zoom this way and hang out and talk.
I have found that people are very happy to be looking at somebody. They're not into the phone, but the visual really makes a difference.
Yeah, it is. That is interesting. Yeah.
I haven't been too isolated because it's very busy in real estate in Arizona. So we've slowed down just a little bit.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. No, that's what you want to hear. Jack, have you ever experienced any burnout or?
Certainly as a founder of a company, I do. Even as a dad, I do. I think, what Connie said is really true. Don't wait until it's kind of too late. You really have to manage it on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. I know lots of friends who have gone right to the edge and have experienced real breakdowns. And it's a warning message to me about how I do my best. And I'm not saying I get it right, but certainly exercise, finding gardening, meditation for some is another way to do it. I had access to a steam room for a period of time. I found like the steam room was the best thing. If I spend 30 minutes in a steam room or a sauna, I should say, like once, every other day, every 2 or 3 days, like I just felt like my whole life was better. And so I don't know that the same thing works for everybody. I really struggle with meditation, but you've got to find that thing or that thing. And it really does need to be incorporated in a preventative way. Because I think as you're kind of pointing out here, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Life it works that way. It can be relentless at times, and you almost have to like keep your reserves up, because to Connie's point, you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring on the home front, on the personal front. It could be anything. We did not expect we would be in COVID land back in January. I had made far different plans for what this spring was going to be like in my life. And by having sort of those reserves built up a little bit and not living on the edge, I think for some professionals, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah.
I'm so burnt out. I'm so fried. I'm working so hard. Well, you're going to hit a wall at some point, and it's going to show. And even if you're not functioning at a level you should function at. And I know, again, I am by no means perfect on this front. I'm trying to be aware of it as much as I can and do those preventative things before you get to the edge.
Yeah. No, I think the preventative thing is key. Like you said, the marathon, we're in this for the long run. It's great to see Connie's been doing it a while, and it seems like the pace she's found is a great thing that we're going to look at a little bit later. And another reason you're going to want to make these changes professionally is it's going to lead to higher performance. When you're stressed, I'm sure many of you know this, but a chemical called cortisol gets produced by your body, and it heads to your brain, and it reduces your higher functions that include things like negotiating, response, and empathy. So all these things kind of get reduced a little bit and a little bit cloudy, and your performance as a real estate pro is going to suffer. So professionally, that's definitely a few reasons you're going to want to make these changes. Personally, for family life, having that being there for the family, not being stressed and thinking, being able to switch gears without always being perseverating on your real estate job. For your health, studies have shown that 85% of chronic conditions are created or aggravated by stress. So definitely for your health, and just to create that balance of work and life, and pursue the life that you're looking for. So personally, those are the reasons you want to make a change. And finally, for your seller, the first two might be, the professional and the personal, they're probably obvious to you because those are what you're experiencing. For your seller, you're going to want to make these changes for your seller, but also for your business. When they have a good experience with you working together, not only are you going to make, you guys, it takes, 60 days sometimes for a house. I saw that was about the average for a house once it gets listed to sell across the nation. So you're going to be working with this person for a while. So you want them to be not too stressed. You want them to be open to not surprising you with new ideas or things that they kept hidden from you. And at the end of it, you want them to tell their friends about how fun and easy it was to sell their house and how delighted they were with, Connie as she sold their house. The other kind of shocking and sort of sad stat I saw was that 1/3 of people who sold their house cried during the selling process. They just broke down and they lost it. So that's definitely not great for word of mouth. But yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything to add to how you do this for your seller?
Well, I think it's more, you're working with them more like 6 months, because the prep time, there's a lot going on in the prep time, the whole photo shoot, the video shoot. But I'm working my way back to the beginning. So you're going to be talking about values, what they need to do to get their home ready for sale or not get ready. There's so many things that I try to avoid the surprises, but I want to give my sellers the confidence to know that they're working with the professional. And my goal is to look out and protect their best interest. I'm there to promote their home, but I'm there to protect them in order to help them feel better. Now, there's always surprises. I just don't like them in real estate, but there always will be a surprise, and we work on it. We work on it together.
Yeah.
So I like to have my sellers happy, but it's stressful no matter what. But we can kind of go through it together, and then maybe celebrate. I try to celebrate all the way through. There's little milestones that are rewarding.
That's awesome. How do you normally celebrate? Do you just
a beer?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It depends on what my client is interested in. So my last clients were really into beer, and they bought a home that had a beer refrigerator. It was so cool.
Yeah.
So I mean, and it's those things. I think the main thing is being available when they have a question, because questions come up all the time. I just want them to know I'm available. It could be late at night. Sometimes it's early in the morning, 6, and early, because East Coast starts 3 hours before us. But it's being there for them and just being able to answer a question. And we go through it step by step.
Yeah.
So, experience working together. And if I have a headache or I'm hungover, which I don't drink very much, but if I'm not feeling well, which I feel like, we're sick every morning when we wake up during this quarantine period.
Yeah.
It's just and everybody's feeling that. So you want to have joy together somehow.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's, a home is only part of our lives. We have this whole other thing of what's going on with family, pets, work.
Yeah, you definitely want to adopt some of these changes we're going to talk about to increase your chances for joy at work and for your seller. Absolutely. So sort of the effect on sellers, we kind of talked about. One of the other things was that 60% of people said it was the most stressful thing in their life, selling a house. And then I think the other one was 9% of people said they would rather have a root canal than have to sell their house. So it's a rough situation, definitely. So anything we can do, anything you can do, we can all do to help our sellers be less stressed is super key. So
one of the things, with stress is the unknown, right? You've got this idea of expectations and things you don't know. And as a seller, you may only go through this event 1, 2, 3 times in your life. And there is no practice opportunity. You don't keep practicing this, and usually you get better and less stressed with more practice.
Yeah.
This is not one of those things that you do. You don't just whip it up and I'm going to practice selling a house. Like it can't be that for a whole host of reasons. That's the role of the agent. I mean, the agent plays that vital role of bringing in the experience and expecting. I think, Connie, you made one comment at one point just about how you're almost like prepping your clients with the idea like, look, there's probably going to be 3 or 4 things that go wrong over the next few months. Let's not lose our mind about them. They're just going to happen. We can only do so much to prevent everything. Zero is not our goal. Our goal is just to only have 3 or 4 things, not 10 or 20 things. And they can be across so many situations that a lot of them are not in your control. There's nothing you can do. It's just going to happen that way. And so doing that expectation setting up front to reduce stress for you, because the more stressed out they get, having been the client, the more stress I'm sure I lean on the agent. Being upset with them, I've got no other place to direct my anger. Where am I going to direct my anger? I'm going to dump it on the agent or anybody that's frontline.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we're here to do. We're here to help the seller. There is a distinction between a realtor and an agent. A realtor is, they're both licensed with the state, but the realtor is a member of our National Association of Realtors, and therefore we all agree to abide by a code of ethics. And that code of ethics is client protection and confidentiality. So a seller knows that they've hired a realtor and our fiduciary responsibility is to take care of them.
Yeah.
Big difference there. And I do see that in working with for sale by owners that don't, there's a lot of stress of knowing who's coming into your home. And that's why having a realtor there that can kind of screen, talking to the other agents and screening buyers before you let them in is important. And then also there's some other things we can do that'll help with that too.
Yeah, no, that's great. Those are both great ways. The realtor angle is really interesting to have that sort of codified, the code of ethics, so that the seller, when they know they go to Connie, they see she is a license, she is a part of that association. They know what they're getting. So that's huge. Some of the easy changes, we broke this down in a similar way: professional, personal, and changes for your seller. So some of the easy professional changes you can make. The first one is build out your network. So Connie, do you have a group of people that you tap every time you sell a home, or is it a new group of people? Do you grab the yellow pages and start Googling people to find out who's going to help you out or what?
Nope, I have a network. I would like to call them, they're my team, but I don't want it to be that inclusive. But so I have a network, and it depends on who my client wants to work with. Some people, women only want to work with women, or seniors may only want to work with seniors. So I have a variety of loan officers and a group of, a couple of inspectors, escrow officers. In Arizona, we have title and escrow are the same. We typically do not use attorneys in our transactions here in Arizona, but I do have attorneys should I ever need that. But there's so many other people involved. I need a septic guy. I need a media installation person. So there's so many other people. It depends on what the client needs. Sometimes, and as long as I have the relationship is between the client and the person in the network. If they mess up, they're out of the network.
They're out of the HomeBinder for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No 3 strikes rule. I agree, Connie. I think you have to have very short tolerance with people, because one bad experience in a world driven by referrals and reputation is everything. And really, you almost have to tell people in New York, look, I'm bringing you in. I'm not going to give you warnings. I can't afford it. You have to do it right up front. And I hope you understand the position I'm in, but you're only going to remain in as part of my network if you behave this way, because one is done.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not that person, it's the consumer. Because I had a cleaning agent lose a client for me because he wouldn't support the wife when she went to a divorce hearing. And she called me up and blamed me because the cleaner did not support her at the courtroom. And I thought, I have nothing to do with your marriage.
Yeah.
So, and so it had to be fair to everybody, so.
Keep that network tight. And also, so that'll reduce your stress. It'll also help you grow your business. That network, those professionals, when somebody asks them, hey, do you know a real estate agent? They say, I know Connie. Let me send you her way.
And send, or like sending out I love being able to call my landscaper who knows how I operate and my level of detail and say, okay, I need you to get out of here, get rid of the weeds, do this, trim the palm tree.
Yes.
and they take care of it. I can give them the security codes, and then I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah. So having that network really reduce your stress. One of the other things you mentioned was setting up your systems. So
With the buddy system.
oh yeah, let's go to the buddy system. Let's talk about that.
Setting up systems.
Oh.
No, systems are critical because we talk about systems in our professional life, and we forget that we need systems in our personal life too. So the personal part of it is what gives us the foundation from which we derive our strengths. For people, it can be spiritual or physical, or just the energy that we have. But having a system, I think once I was after 5 years in the business, which was so long ago, being able to follow up with my clients was so important, and I didn't really have a good system for that. My mission is to help people be better homeowners. So I'm always looking for resources, and I'm also quite frugal with how I allocate my business expenses. I grew up in an accounting family, so we always talked numbers and taxes at our dinner table. But having systems like that is so important. And I think people know that. So you want your marketing. We know systems with the MLS, and we know now how we have to get our properties list information out in social media. In the old days, we will go back to it again in the new days. Networks where we had meetings, and I'd hang out with realtors, and basically all day long I'm talking to other people promoting my sellers' properties. I need to have systems. How do I do that? Because and the consistency is critical.
Yeah. No, the systems personally and also professionally, and also, I guess the word is digitally. I know a lot of people are taking this kind of this small break in some areas of the country to go through their processes, their systems, and make sure everything is set up for success. So I was talking to an agent the other day who was just going through. She built up a lot of database debt, is what I've heard it called, where they just keep throwing people in their CRM and they don't really keep track of what's going on with them, and the tags are out of control and the hashtags, and so now it's basically just a mess, a spaghetti dish full of people, and so they have to go through there and they sort it out, get them put on the tags. Who is what? Who's a lead I should be contacting? Who am I nurturing? And all those systems, and then setting up, the marketing, like you said, through some email stuff or through something like HomeBinder, which we'll show you a little bit later. Can really take a lot of the load off in the near and for the long-term future. So having those systems set up, and then so there's the systems for your technology, your tech stack, for some people. You also mentioned the buddy system.
And that's personal. That's the personal system. That's not the professional one, but they're tied in together. Yeah. It took me 10 years to find somebody who thought like I did, who cared about clients like I did, and who was had attention to detail, also is a broker, and wanted to be involved in our professional associations. And it took me 10 years, and it was hard to find somebody that I felt that I could really share my frustrations. And when I finally found somebody through a mutual friend, thank you. And almost every day we need to talk. Okay, what's happening with this? Well, the appraiser kind of messed up, or something wasn't disclosed properly. So-and-so didn't show up. But just being able to vent and get it out of my system, it's like, okay, and then we can go on, because it's every day. And a lot of it's humorous if you can laugh with somebody about it.
Yeah.
And plus they give you good ideas, because sometimes we're so caught up in the stress of any frustrating conversation, and having somebody else just say, open up the light bulb and go, oh, well, remember how we handled that before? Or here's a good example. I have a client that I care about all my clients, but there's a home. I'm trying to help them decide between the home in this neighborhood and the home in that neighborhood. And my buddy said, well, what about the schools? I went, I know which home to go to. It was easy for me to say, would I want to live in the neighborhood? Do I want my kids going to this school? or if a child is an athlete, or maybe media, because I went to high school with Linda Carter at Arcadia High
Oh, yeah.
School.
Oh.
And so, yeah, but she was a little bit 1 year older than me. But what happened is, and Spielberg also went to that school too. Well, we also have a local businessman who is in the media industry. Well, he has helped Arcadia become a magnet school for media. And they have an incredible auditorium set up and high tech information. You won't get that at other high schools, same school district. So it may be a kid that wants to go into that profession. I might say, check out this school. Another kid that is going to go on for a higher level of education, maybe a different high school.
Yeah, that's great.
And my friend reminds me, she said, well, would you live there? Would that be good for your kid? And so that helps.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So having that immediate feedback with somebody who knows what, you don't have to explain all of real estate to them when you kind of want to get their advice. You just tell them, hey, this is a situation, and they can give you immediate, an ear to listen, and also occasionally some great advice. So yeah, building out that network of trusted people, making sure you've culled it so that it's only people that are trusted and that aren't going to introduce chaos into you and your seller's transaction. Setting up those tech stack systems, making sure your CRM is nice and up to date, and maybe popping over to API Nation and connecting it to your transaction manager. Using the buddy system. So actually, I'm curious, the buddy system seems like a great way to work. I'd love to hear how many other agents are using that. If you could just raise your hand if you currently have a buddy that you can call. And yeah, Kelly mentioned, does it have to be in your office? It doesn't. No, I don't think so. You don't work in the same office with your buddy, do you?
Well, we're in the same brokerage firm.
Okay.
But we don't go to the offices. We work out of our homes and our cars.
That's true.
So, it's the same. But it's reciprocal too. So there are times when, she needs to help, and then I can bring in some fresh ideas. Yeah. It's tough when you're negotiating at 9:00 at night and you're like, remember that clause that we needed way back in the aughts and, before we had the short sale, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That it's just helpful, but they don't need to be in the office because you're not going to use other realtor names. That's in violation of the code of ethics.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We don't do that, but it just helps to share. It's just bouncing ideas off of each other.
Yeah, buddy, teammate, two brains are better than one for sure.
But there's a whole thing, if you don't want to, a lot of people think the buddy thing means you're splitting your commissions and stuff. Well, that's when you're working together as team members. And sometimes we do that. Like when I'm going to be in Boston, the 3-hour time difference, Boston or Hawaii, makes it very difficult to do real estate when somebody needs an answer in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how we have evolved, is that people need answers right away and we need to be receptive. So that's why it's nice to have somebody available.
Yeah. So having that person available for feedback, and then also, the last thing I've heard a lot of realtors mention, giving yourself permission to fire a seller. So if the seller is, not working with you, being dishonest, making sure surprises will come up because they're not sharing and disclosing all those things for you, basically making your life as a realtor rough, then give yourself permission, fire that seller, and reduce the stress professionally.
Well, here's a perfect example of when I had to do it. And we had worked together. We were ready to list the home, and she had a termite tube. And so she scratched off the termite tube and says, I'm not going to disclose it. I said, but I'm going to disclose it. And she said, oh, no, we're going to lie to the public. And I said, I'm sorry, I won't be able to work with you.
Yeah.
Or my neighbor that had 15 squirrels in his attic, and he did not want to tell the consumer about that. So, I'm really a big believer in disclosures because we can always solve the problem if we know what it is.
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to solve this problem.
But to hide something from the buyer, it's just not, I can't go with dishonesty.
Yeah, for sure. So you can fire them and not have to deal with that. That's definitely an option to reduce your stress. And then just some personal strategies to reduce some stress. The first one obviously is sleep. if you are not getting enough sleep, the cortisol is running, the adrenaline is running. I don't know, Jack, are you a 4 hour, 6 hour, 8 hour a night guy?
Yeah, I'm probably, one of those people that needs more like 7 or 8 on a steady basis. But, there's periods where you just start to get run down. Having young boys, there's periods of time when, they were younger where getting 4 hours a night was great, but it doesn't really work for me. I think there's no special formula here. The 8 hours isn't necessary for everybody, it seems. And some people need more like 10.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of know what's right for you and try to be, try to respect that and be honest with yourself about it. There's, like we were talking about earlier, there's no glory for saying, oh, look, I only sleep 5 hours a night and you're a mess. Like you don't function during the day.
Yeah.
You talk to most successful business people, executives, they take this pretty seriously because decisions that they make during the day, if not on point, can have massive repercussions. And it starts with fundamentals: eating, sleeping, exercising, the basics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an amateur astrophysicist, so I wake up in the middle of the night, and I can do a 4-hour wake up. And I've been doing it my whole life, but it may be because in Arizona we took siestas in the afternoon, and then we really came out and played after dark.
Yeah.
But I like the moon was out, so I went out for some moon rays last night. And, that gives me energy and it's kind of fun. And now we're in the middle of a meteor shower, I think, from Halley Comet passing through. So I have a broken up sleep, but I'm still getting 8 hours a night. Now, other people I sleep with are a 10 or 12, and some others are 6.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of where, and you have to respect that. So don't lie to yourself.
The respecting that is key. Just listening to your body, making sure. I think it's great that the culture is starting to turn around on this idea of little sleep. And I only sleep 2 hours a night. I'm so busy, and sort of that aspect of hustle culture that is slowly turning around. So that's great. So reduce stress by getting enough sleep, by listening to your body, having a priority list. When I get stressed, it's usually about something very acute, something that's happening right now or in the very near future, and something often that is not going to affect my big life priorities. So to reduce my stress, sometimes I'll just sit down, I'll write down, here is what is important to me in my life. It's family, it's my relationship with God, and then after that comes career, and then after that comes job, and all those things. So if you write out that priority list, you'll start to see some of these stresses really just diminish. Like it's not affecting the big ones. And if it is, then, hey, stress, absolutely valid. But, the appraisal didn't come in right. My family will be okay. My relationship with God's going to be fine. My career is probably going to be fine. My job's probably going to be fine. This very acute thing is not fine. And it's not worth really ruining every day, my very limited days, worrying about it. So there's that. Having the personal outlet. I know you mentioned the gardening, the foodie aspect, and Jack, playing with your boys and getting out and chunking pumpkins with your trebuchets. Definitely.
I want to build one now.
Yeah, and then the last one is mindfulness. So this has become sort of a catchphrase in our culture now. Mindfulness, this idea of stopping, taking a breath, really starting to feel things around you. But I think it is key. And you guys both mentioned you do meditation, which is kind of an aspect of mindfulness. Is that right?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, there's more and more apps all the time. Headspace is probably one of the more known ones out there. I've tried it. Everybody, the point is there's tons of resources today, better resources than ever before. Not everything for everybody, but I think that the idea of, although meditation is a form of mindfulness, not all mindfulness is meditation. And even just like being present in the moment and trying to live in the present is a big part of it. I sit down for dinner with my family. Can I, for 20 minutes, compartmentalize my life and try to just be there? And again, I don't do this well. all the time. I don't, but it's what I think we try to shoot for. Just being aware and present. Read the room. You as a realtor, Connie, you got to read the room. You got to know the people, what's going on. Be present to the idea of another popular term, Gabe, over the last few years has been emotional IQ.
Mm-hmm.
What is your emotional IQ, and are you sensitive and aware to the people around you, and what parse their language, parse their body language, parse what's going on here, and really try to get to the root of what's happening. Is it an insecurity thing?
Yeah.
Is it what is it that's happening here that's causing this dynamic that's going on with this buyer, this seller, this even mortgage lender I'm dealing with?
Yeah, that's right. The emotional IQ. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Kate.
The emotional IQ is huge. There's the apps for the mindfulness, definitely something to check out to reduce your stress. There's a simple practice you can try, which is just if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit stressed, you can just follow your hands and see what they're doing for a few minutes as they grab things, as they touch things. It really kind of focuses on the tactile things and puts you right in the moment rather than thinking about, all the craziness happening in the world. It really kind of reduces things down to this is what's happening in my world and that's how it feels. And this is kind of interesting and it reduces the stress that way.
Well, I've been trying to practice mindfulness for 45 years.
Yeah.
I went to college and took a class way back in, the 70s. And it was like the in thing at that time. But mindfulness means being in the present. Mm. Use those lists to do all the stuff that you have to do in the future. Know that you can't really do anything in the past because it's done. But to be listening to what the buyer or what the seller is saying, that's being focusing in that moment. And the only way to stop this dialogue in my head is to play a game. And I found that the only way I could stop thinking about real estate was when I played ping pong, because I'm a competitive person and you focus on a game and you kind of, it lets it go. And then boom, I get the phone call, come list me, I'm gone.
Yeah.
That was
that's really interesting. Yeah. Ping pong. That's a great strategy to kind of be in the moment. You got to be there. So yeah, those are some of the personal strategies. And then as we move to our final easy ways to reduce stress, these are seller strategies. So ways to interact with your seller to reduce stress on you and them and that whole relationship. So one of the first ones, and it should be obvious, but if you don't do it every time, it's going to really set you up for a rough situation. And that is establishing clear goals and expectations with that seller so that they know exactly what is going to happen, so that if they have you can hear any preconceptions they have about how much this house is going to sell for or how quick this is going to go. You as an agent can come in and bring your expertise and correct that so that they know you can demonstrate that expertise and they feel more confident. This person knows what they're talking about, obviously. And also, I know I'm not going to sell this home for $2 million when it's worth for, $500,000. So it's great. It's great that somebody let me know that because I had my heart set on that. So how do you normally sit your clients down and establish those things, Connie?
Well, I want to, establish clear goals and expectations. What the expectation is to try to reduce stress. Mm. So here at the very beginning, I'm trying to help my seller understand. Here are the basic things. I'll take care of who comes in your home. You need to put away those keys that you keep hanging on the door I'm looking at security now. Get rid of those keys that are there. Remove all the valuables. You don't think about, you put your watch on your dresser every night. It might still be left over there. Your little money jars, get rid of that. Because not that I've ever had a problem. Put away the paperwork. People forget that you leave your utility bills out. People are going to want to see, well, what's the utility? If you got foreclosure papers, hide it. Or if you're buying a new home, put away that paperwork because people are poking around your home. And the one thing we never think about are those family photos. So we want to put away all those family photos as well. We don't want the public to see that. They're in the photographs. Nobody really needs to know about that. Yeah. But if I kind of walk them through, here's the process, show them once we're in escrow, but I kind of help people, we'll go over the whole process, but I'll just take it step by step because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And we'll just deal with one issue at a time, and we'll move on to the next step.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to establish those clear goals and expectations. Just a few more as we head towards the tools that we can talk about that can help you reduce stress. Value their time. So this is probably not an issue for all of you, but for some of you, it's definitely a huge thing to be on time. And that reduces a lot of stress for your seller. I know when me and my wife worked with an agent, he was so punctual. It was fantastic. It took so much of the stress off of us. He got back to us so quick. I felt like I was dragging the transaction down most of the time, which you guys as realtors probably know. Tons of clients like that who take too long to get back to you. But he was great. He totally valued my time, and it took so much of the stress out. And then demonstrating the expertise. So I know, Connie, you have a number of different acronyms that you've attained certifications. And those aren't easy to get, and it proves that you are somebody who's worked hard and learned a lot about being an agent, specifically being a residential specialist. It sounds like, and so demonstrating that, and that will reduce their stress, knowing I have Connie in my corner. She's obviously got this handled, and then you kind of touched on it earlier, Connie, but this idea of I had educate and over communicate, but you actually have a better idea of educate and kind of set individual events. So talk them through individual events instead of the huge event as a whole, because that's overwhelming.
It is overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm so comfortable with it. And it's like going into the doctor's office. They start saying these things. I'm like, I don't know what those words mean. I don't know what that means. And I'll talk to the doctor. I said, do you know what COE is, HOA? And then they go, now I understand. So it's a new language for a lot of people because we're dealing with a minimum of $250,000. That's a lot of money to be dealing with. And that's why it's so important to take those clients' interests in mind and to really help them be better, but how to help them make more money from their investment, either for them or for their offspring.
Yeah. So that actually leads right into give them tools. So you educate them through the process. And one of the great tools you can give them to help them sell their house for more, to take stress off, to communicate the value of their home, and to make sure the appraisal comes in where you need it, is HomeBinder, which is Jack's company. So Jack, I'm going to stop sharing here. And if you want to take the reins, take the wheel.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Gabe. Happy to do it, and great to have this opportunity to do it today. It looks like I stopped sharing. Let's try this one more time.
Yeah, it's happened to me a couple times.
Presenting.
There we go.
I think
good.
Yep. Cool. So hi, everybody. My name is Jack. We've talked a little bit today about all the elements of stress and the selling process. I'm going to cover just in a few minutes a little bit about HomeBinder and how we're helping agents like Connie, realtors like Connie. I need to remember to use the word realtor. And position homes in the process better. For those of you that don't know much about HomeBinder, HomeBinder is, as the name suggests. Maybe years ago you gave out 3-ring binders to your clients. Well, HomeBinder is that in a digital form, a web app, a mobile app, a place for everything. Everything has a place. What projects were done, receipts for those projects, people that were hired, all the way down to paint colors by room, and all organized in a way that is helpful for that homeowner. And we do things like send out maintenance reminders electronically, and we brand those maintenance reminders with the agent's information. So as a closing gift, it in of itself is very helpful for not only the buyer, because now they have a tool to use in their ownership and be reminded of how to do things and get notified if an appliance gets recalled, but also great for the realtors who are giving this tool to them because it keeps their brand and their name in front of them over time. Just one other quick screen, a maintenance screen. Every home has a maintenance schedule. These maintenance reminders are tied and have your name on them. What we're doing today at the end here is a little bit of a case study that we put together with Connie about how she has been leveraging HomeBinder over the last several years as part of her listings using HomeBinder seller reports. Well, what's a HomeBinder seller report? It is not a disclosure report. I say this all the time. There are 36 states with disclosure legislation and forms. That's that lane. This is about sharing information that sellers would love to provide, and Connie used a great word around pride, and buyers would love to get because it brings them confidence. This replicates the experience that I had buying a home after selling my last company, and is the founding story of why HomeBinder exists. The previous owners left out at the kitchen table during the open house all of this stuff in an analog 8-inch stack of paper. HomeBinder is that in a digital form, a PDF, a web page that can be shared. And it has all types of things such as appliance, maintenance, completed projects, information that when given to sellers as part of the selling process and pitched to them at the listing presentation, hey, we are going to use HomeBinder. This is what it is. And this is what you're going to do for a couple of hours, memorializing information of what you did. And it's going to be good for these reasons. And we'll talk about some of those in a few of these upcoming slides. It's public facing. It's a link that you can share on the listing page. You can email around. You can put in a Facebook feed. It's meant for everybody to view. It's not password protected. My HomeBinder account, you can't go in. It's mine. But when I want to and I'm ready, I can create a public facing report that I curate with my agent to make sure we're just putting in here exactly what I want to share about my home. And we're doing that for a number of reasons. We want to share the value of home to buyers. I believe that the home I was buying in 2008 was of more value because I was getting information along with it, and having it been my third home that I had owned, I would be more confident in buying it. By sharing these reports as part of a package of information, like here's the MLS data, here's the listing brochure, here's the HomeBinder report, this is about helping the appraiser understand things that they won't know otherwise. In a subdivision where all the homes were built the same 30 years ago, two side-by-side homes are markedly different today because of what the homeowners did during that period of time. What they put into it, how old the appliances are, how many of the rooms have been refreshed, how long has it happened, which home has a deck or a sunroom that's been added onto it. All of those things increase the value of that home, and comp data does not tell the story. And,
Right.
and any of you, anybody that plays in the game knows that, but it's a restriction of where they're existing today. Oh, two homes, both 2 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, about the same square footage, sold within, a relatively 2-year period of time, which is ages in an upward market, in relatively the same neighborhood. A half a mile, a quarter mile away is markedly different in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind the improvements and changes made to it. Reducing questions. So the stress of just being peppered by questions from the buyer during the process, after the process, hey, can you tell me about this? In today's world, you buy a home, you get the keys, a little bit about it and a good luck. But as a buyer, once you move in, there's 1,000 unanswered questions. Mm-hmm. And as you hire professionals to come into the home, they say, well, why was this done this way? And when was the last time the furnace was serviced? And do you know about, what's going on here? Why is this plumbed this way? Who did it? Like, you stumble your way through those answers. And sharing this information is about helping that information flow through the process and after, so you can get on to the next deal. And here's the soft, fuzzy one. Gabe, you mentioned earlier about how homeowners, 30% of homeowners cry?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Me.
Yeah.
When we sold our family home that I had only known, it felt, honestly, I remember driving out the driveway, it felt like a funeral.
Yeah.
It really did. It was like, it was a morose event. Like I couldn't imagine not having this thing. I was attached to it. And I will feel the same way about the home I live in today with my kids. I raised my kids there, and we will sell it undoubtedly someday. I have this saying, like, we're not so much owners of homes, we are stewards. Mm. We are not the first, we're not the last. We just own homes for a period of time. And it would make me feel good. I would be de-stressed knowing that the future owner is going to be able to at least take care of the baby that I raised my family in. And it's a little bit of an emotional one, But I think we've seen time and time again in talking to people that this is a real factor. Not for everybody. I mean, some people are like, I cannot wait to get rid of my home. But for a segment, you can't treat all your clients the same way. You know that, Connie. Everyone's different. Different things make them tick. And it's about pulling things out of your toolbox to say, this is going to help with this element with this seller. And so that's a little bit of that. So how are we lining up good, Gabe? Any questions, any things you think I should touch on before I go on to this next little part?
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think you're absolutely right about the home. The home is like a huge character in your life story, and leaving it in the hands of a stranger is stressful. It's dramatic. And being able to introduce that whole character's history, that thing you've worked on for decades, and where you've gone together, what you've done together, and how it's improved, it's important. I think it's huge.
Yeah. And so, Connie, you've got some real life experience here. You've been, sharing these types of reports for years now. And you've had a ton of success, effectively a high batting average for how your appraisals have come in at or above where you needed them to come in so the deal could get done. And one of the stressors, of course, for a lot of realtors is this going to hang up, this deal in some way? I don't know. I'm just hoping that it comes in okay, but what have I done on the front end to help make sure that it's given the best chance? So, I'd love to sort of like have you just share what experience you've had with the seller report and how it's meant something to you in your process.
Well, I was so excited when somebody turned me on to HomeBinder. I started using it basically for the seller's report. And I asked my seller, we actually sat down together and we just worked on projects. Just what was done. Maybe they did a kitchen counter, they put new brushed nickel doorknobs on, but we went through, we just went through the home. It was kind of fun, and we just went through all of that. Then when I had an open house, I just pulled the seller's report out, which is basically home improvements. And I have the MLS, the client version of the MLS. So those are the facts and the data info, the pretty photo flyer brochure that we use. And then I put the HomeBinder seller report in there. I was surprised at what the buyers did. They flipped through the other stuff. They kept the HomeBinder report in front of them, and they went through the home carrying the report. Oh, look, this is that. Oh, that was done. Things that they wouldn't have really noticed before. And it could have been fix a crack or something, but the report I used for upgrades and improvements, I thought, that's kind of a cool thing. And then I said, okay, let me try it with appraisers. So I just leave it there on the counter for the appraisers, along with all that other information as well. And then the appraisers come into the property, they talk to the seller. Okay, well, what have you done? What improvements have you made to the home? And the seller may be excited about the new door step they put in. Not that big of a deal. But you could see the appraiser the eyes are rolling over. And I would interject and say, but we made a list for you. And here's everything that, or most everything we can remember for upgrades, improvements, specific amenities to this particular home. And I handed it to the appraiser and their eyes just opened up, a big sigh of relief, like, wow, this is really going to be helpful. That was it. I'm out the door. Now, most times I don't get to see an appraiser. Most of us don't, but I leave it in a packet on the table. Or in our system, when they hit our lockbox, I get their email address, and then I can also send it to them in a PDF file. It's just to give them more facts.
Yeah, and I think that's a good important point, Connie, because I think one thing we want to separate here is this is not influencing the appraisal. That's not the focus. The focus is informing the appraiser, giving them anything and everything you can. They're there to look with their own eyes. Yeah. This is just like summarizing it to a point that they can now know a bit more about what they might otherwise not. And by doing so, they're happy. I mean, it helps them. They get paid less than ever before because of the AMCs and Dodd-Frank. They have little time to do their work, and the data out there still continues to be fairly meager. So, you're de-stressing them in some way because they have more to go on than little things are just like trying to pull together to try to come up with some semblance of report that they know if it doesn't move forward, they're going to get stressed because then they're going to have problems with the lender. They're going to have problems with everybody. And it's not their intention, but they can only go so far being only so informed. And that's really what you're doing. It's information. It's not influence.
I have spent hours in the home. I know way more. I'm just trying to make it easier for them because they're only in there 15, 20 minutes. How are they going to see everything?
Yeah,
So the more facts, the better. But here's the great story. So I have been using it. And this week, I'm proud to say that my 16th appraisal on my listings came in at or above the contract price. 16 out of 16.
Whoa.
The only one, I had one that came, I still got higher than the value, but the appraiser, it was great. But anyway, he called me up because I had raw sewage flowing into the home from the next door neighbor. And I thought, oh, forget it. I'm never going to get this appraisal in. This deal is shot. The appraiser said, no problem, because I had to get over there and shut off the water flowing into the house and got the HOA involved. And I figured my sellers weren't expecting the appraisal to come in, and it still came in way above the comps in the entire complex.
Wow.
It was, and she did some improvements, but it wasn't as nice as the nicest ones in there.
Yeah.
But the seller report makes their lives a little bit easier, and it helps to bring it all together for the seller. And it has made my life a lot less stressful because I also use HomeBinder for following up with my clients.
Yeah. Yeah. We
I'm just coming here and sharing a live one on the site, an example report. And what I'll do is I'll copy and paste this. And I think if I just drop this in chat, everybody can just access it on their own here.
Yeah, we can check it
that's
out.
right. Yeah.
See how cool that is? It's beautiful.
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit earlier, Connie, and we also talked about it as a stress-reducing strategy to set up systems like HomeBinder so that instead of remembering, you still want to be contacting those clients months and years down the road, but having this HomeBinder email them at set intervals to remind them about maintenance and having it come from Connie that says, hey, don't forget, you need to winterize your pipes or you need to change your HEPA filter. Connie, you're not going to tell anybody to winterize their pipes in Arizona. But yeah, change your filter, check out that pool. You got some maintenance that needs to happen on that pool. And all these reminders that come from HomeBinder on a timely basis, it creates touches where Connie is showing that she cares about them and it keeps her top of mind. And it's a great system to reduce that amount of stress from your practice.
I think one of the important things here is, we're leaning on the seller to do this work. You talked a lot about expectations. Telling the seller up front as part of even the listing presentation, this is what we're going to do as part of selling this home. We're going to do this, this, and this. And there's also, and part of it is HomeBinder. And my expectation of you is that you're going to spend a couple hours memorializing all the things you did, not killing yourself, but just spend a couple hours. Our evidence suggests that per hour, that seller is going to get about $2,500 for every hour they spend with either the buyer or in the appraisal process by just listing out these things. And a lot of it is just stuck in their head. Some of it's maybe in a drawer, some of it's here or there. But by the way, it's also good for the CPA. They have a new cost basis they can account, and HomeBinder will spit out a report and says, this is what you bought it for. These are all your capital improvements, and here's your new cost basis for your house. Wow. So by doing this, you also have a value to your CPA, especially important in second homes, where the capital gains are more significant. But if the seller knows this is what they're going to do, and they understand the why they are doing it, they will all do it. And so this isn't something that agents have to spend a lot of time doing. This isn't about the agent spending time at the computer. It's just about, I'm setting up with this tool seller, log in here and go do this work for a couple hours. And I'll help you with it. We'll do some things, but I expect it's of you. And it's going to be good because there's going to be less questions, less issues with appraisals, less questions after the transaction is completed. You'll be able to leverage it for this, 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 and this. And it's just what we do. And it's not everything, Gabe. You've touched on a lot of ways to make a successful sale. This is not going to cover everything under the sun, but it's meant to deal with some specific things that continue to come up that I think plague real estate transactions that have been the same for decades and haven't really significantly changed. No. And we're trying to inject in our particular way to help out on those fronts. if I can be so bold.
No, it's great. I have one more thing to add to that.
Yeah.
And it's not a part of the sell. Well, it's a extended selling. I work with a lot of seniors, and they are going to give their property to their kids. So the kids maybe live out of state. They don't know what the parents have done to it. And a lot of times they're just like, okay, let's get rid of it. They've lost tens of thousands of dollars because they don't know about the property. I mean, they came to visit. They might have done a few handyman projects for their parents, but this is really great for the kids. So in the long run, the children then will know where the value is, and it really helps for their inheritance.
I'm pushing on my mother and father-in-law. Every time I go, I add a little bit more to the HomeBinder because I know someday my wife and I are going to be responsible for that house, and I need to know who to call because they have a whole list of people, and I need to know when this stuff is done. If I have even a chance of not being stressed out myself when this property on Long Island, which is 3.5, 4 hours away from me, is eventually something we have to deal with.
Yeah. No, it's
and
huge.
Seniors forget. They forget what they're supposed to do. Like one of my seniors bought a 10-year air conditioning warranty plan. Well, when we sat down to do it, she forgot. She didn't get 2 of the free years for service. And then the caregiver came in, and now the caregiver gets the notice. Boom! They call the AC guy, and it's an advantage. It's a wonderful program, and I have really used it in several different ways to.
Well, you've helped shape the product. One of the great things for me, Connie, personally, is obviously we've known you for a number of years now. You've helped shape the product. The product is more of what it is today, largely from just a few key people like yourself that have given us the feedback to help iterating. You have to be able to turn this on. You have to be able to turn that off. You want the data to show this way. You need these functionality. And so, grateful for you. This feels very full circle to me after all this time to be able to do this with you. And I hope everybody listening today, got their wheels turning, got some value. And Gabe, thank you for helping coordinate all this.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I was glad to do it. Connie's been a pioneer for HomeBinder and definitely showing people how to use it. And then, so we partner with HomeBinder at API Nation, and let me show you what that means, because a lot of people ask, API Nation, I know you guys are, you guys do real estate technology, and let me show you how that connects to what you do as realtors, and then also how that connects to Connie and Jack as they work with home binders and their sellers. So as a real estate professional, you probably deal with one or many of these apps. So there's stuff like Google Contacts, Google Calendar, KV Core, LionDesk, Lot 47. All of these are partners with API Nation. And what has happened is these apps are on API Nation on our platform, which just means they're plugged in. So they're plugged into our platform, and that means that in a lot of instances, like for HomeBinder, apps like Dotloop, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest transaction management system, connect with HomeBinder so that you can set up a sync between HomeBinder and Dotloop. And it's really simple. You just, let's actually go here. So the sync, it will actually, as you create a loop in Dotloop, it will create a HomeBinder. That way you don't have to remember to do it. It does it automatically. So it's a system that saves you time. It saves you, it saves you work. You don't have to have your assistant do this. It'll just happen automatically. And let's see. So, and the best part of API Nation, when you're looking at different, there's a lot of different ways to connect apps out there. Some apps only have specific ways, but if you're looking at something like Dotloop or Google Contacts or stuff like that, there's a few different ways. So why would you want to head to API Nation? It's because it's so easy to connect apps here. So for HomeBinder, you'll just go into your settings and find your API key and your API route. Oop, I just asked Siri something.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oop, there you go. And the API route, and that's in your settings. And there's if you click this, it'll show you exactly where they are. So you'll just click Connect HomeBinder. You'll sign into Dotloop.
That's it.
And There we go. So you'll put in your template IDs also from that settings area, and then you just hit start sync. And that's the idea for all of the integrations from API Nation, is to take these apps you use every day, sign into both of them, tell them what you wanted to do, and not have to be a computer whiz to turn these things on.
Yeah, I think, Gabe, one of the important things to clarify for everybody is that, with loops, these are triggered events. So because HomeBinder has a value proposition, a use case on the listing sell side and on the buy side. On the listing side, it's about under contract. So that is the status by which the system is looking. Oh, this is a listing sell side deal. Listing agent is involved. That is a .loop user. I'm just waiting for it to hit under contract.
Yeah.
When it hits that stage, that's when it just runs in the background, sets up the HomeBinder, and tells the seller, hey, I just set this up for you. This is how you use it. This is what it does. All automated.
Yeah.
One of the challenges we find with agents all the time, and this is, I think, to the testament of API Nation, is agents aren't high frequency users with any system. A lot of jobs, you do the same job every day, you get conditioned to do it. You're working over a broad spectrum of tasks, of which you may only do those tasks 4, 5, 6, 7 times a year. It's hard to establish processes there when it's infrequent like that, because there's the conditioning doesn't happen. Systems help there. And that's where the API integration, once done, is just sitting there, it's running in the background. It's ensuring that when this happens, this happens.
Yeah.
And it's not missed. And back to our tools and our systems and our process, like, it's so important. Never mind like the inefficiency of rekeying, mistyping information, wasting time, the inefficiency of that. And then just to kind of close out the loop here, no pun intended. On the buy side, it's the status of closed. So if you're looking on a buy side transaction, this is the buyer's agent looking inside .loop, closed. At that moment, instantly behind the scenes, HomeBinder gets spun up. Branding information gets put on. Binder gets sent to the buyer and says, congratulations. Here's your HomeBinder account. It's a value to you. I've already bought it for you, and it's yours to use. Yeah. So that's why I love participating in this. I'm excited. We call ourselves an integration first company, and so to talk with a company like API Nation that effectively is integration first by the very definition of it.
That's right.
It's been great, and value the opportunity to talk about how it all works together and validate the fact that it's not just us, it's a big, deep ecosystem with lots of other companies in the space with systems that need to talk for efficiency and all the reasons we've talked about. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that's why we love setting up those integrations and why I was excited to talk about stress reduction today, because there's those two instances you have as a realtor. There's platforms you use every day, which you would love to have that huge chunk of time taken off your desk, and so you don't have to manage that anymore. And then there's platforms you use occasionally, and just occasionally enough that you don't remember how to do it. So if you just pop these things onto API Nation, the stuff you do every day handled, and you can focus on communicating with your client, doing those things to make sure they're not stressed, and then the stuff that you do occasionally, also automate it so that you don't have to go and look up the handwritten notes, go onto the support page and find the article about exactly how do I use .loop in this way. Oh, that's right. Now I can do it. It just does it automatically. It's great. So that's kind of what we're at. And if you are interested in HomeBinder, you go to homebinder.com, and there's a professionals for agents and brokers, and you can just go on there and sign up. And the integration between .loop and HomeBinder is actually free. So you sign up for HomeBinder, you sign up for .loop, and then when you want to connect them, that's absolutely no cost to connect them. That's easy to do on API Nation, totally free to do. So that is where we're at. So what you're left with is just to start doing these things that we talked about. So we talked a little bit about at the beginning about how hard it is to change. So now that we've talked about all the different ways you can change by doing those professional changes, getting your network together, finding a buddy, and then those personal changes of being more mindful, getting some sleep, eating correctly, and then those seller changes educating them on what they need to know, but over-educating them, making sure you set expectations and all these things. Now it's just time to go out there and do it. And that is where we're at. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We will be here for just a couple more minutes as we kind of wrap up. Kelly asks, our brokerage provides .loop. What about the integrations? Yeah, there's a ton of great .loop integrations on apination.com. If you go to apination.com and find .loop, you can click on it and see all the available integrations, including HomeBinder. And I know Calendar and HomeBinder, Google Calendar and HomeBinder are totally free. You can just flip those on right now and make your life a lot easier. There's a few other ones that are about $5 a month. There's a complete backup, which is about $10 for agents, which is great to have. You back up your entire .loop to Google Drive. That's fantastic. But yeah, you'll want to go to homebinder.com from here to look at signing up so that you can connect them through API Nation. Great. Well, it looks like those are the questions. Was there anything we had before signing off here, guys?
No,
Just a big thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity and appreciate coordinating this, Gabe, and everybody, on the call today. I hope in this time of a lot of uncertainty, which has stress related to it in and of itself, never mind normal life, everybody's doing okay. And that we all get to the other side of this sooner than later, because I know, speaking for myself, I would love to just get back to normal. I'm reaching fatigue. I really am, and I got to be honest about it. I can't say that this is wonderful, and I try to keep optimistic, but I'm ready for the other side. So I wish everybody the best.
Oh yeah, 8 weeks in, we're past the honeymoon period on this. Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Cool.
Safe, everybody.
So I will we'll email you a replay of this if you're interested, and we'll also include links for the HomeBinder agents page, the integration for .loop and API Nation, and especially Connie's Instagram page. So you can go follow her and see all the adventures of the Arizona Hat Lady and be friends with her. So that is it. It was great talking to you all, and we hope to see you soon on our next webinar. Have a great day.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Gabe. Bye, Connie.